rise above it. But I've learned that you can really rise above it. Ashley, can you still hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay, good. And the way I do is I take a verse that I remembered as a child from my holy book, and the verse says, God has not given you a spirit of fear. So I always laugh and say, well, guess what? I've got it. I wonder who gave it to me. And I'm just kidding. And so I know that spirit of fear that I had about, would my money stretch, did not come from the good one. I think it may have come from the bad one. And then the next line that I memorized as a kid was, He has given us a spirit of power. And in real estate, that means, man, you got the confidence to go out and list a property during coronavirus. Wow, I know I can get a listing. In other words, it's your confidence level. That's what gives you so much power. And then it says He's given us a spirit of power, of love, and you know about love. You experience love in your families, in your market center, in Keller Williams, with your friends. He's given us a spirit of love. We love our sphere of influence, and we care about what's happening to them during this time. And then it says He's given us the spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Now, a sound mind is like having a great mindset. And in Quantum Leap, you learned 4 rules, or 4 truths, I should say, about mindset. And I have a feeling by now you may have forgotten them. So I want you to get your pencils out, if you can, and get a piece of paper and write these down. Truth number 1. When you change your mind, things change. When you change your mind, things change. And I want to give you an example of that. It's an agent in Michigan, and he was really frozen by fear, and he finally got rid of the fear, and he began to think, you know what, I believe maybe I can get listings during this coronavirus time. So he set a goal to get 10 listings in a week. And he ended up with 11 listings. But it was only because he changed his mind that things changed. I hope you get that point. And now let's go to truth number 2. When your mind believes something to be true, when your mind believes something to be true, it stimulates your senses. In other words, it creates adrenaline in you, and it stimulates your senses, and suddenly you're doing the things you ought to be doing, because it's like when you believe it to be true and that adrenaline starts flowing, you have the energy to go over and pick up the phone and make your calls. You have the confidence that you've got the scripts that will work. And let me give you another example of when your mind believes something to be true, it stimulates your senses to create adrenaline and do the things you need to do to make it come true. There's an agent in Orlando, Florida, who believed it to be true that the first thing she should do during Corona was to call her sphere of influence. She was concerned about him. She was worried about him. And she called that sphere of influence. Now, here's what's interesting. She didn't have any fear in her head. So her body had already created the adrenaline that the senses need to start acting. So she made her first call to her sphere of influence. She called it her love call. And she, how are you? How are you doing? What's happening with this Corona thing? And she visited with them, and then she said, if any of you, if you need any help, you just call me. Well, she ended up with 4 or 5 calls, but she only told me about one of the callers. And it was an older woman who lived 100 miles away, and she said she really needed her prescriptions, and she was so worried about, getting those prescriptions because she needed them like right away.
Sure.
So because our agent's mind was free of fear, she had an idea, and the idea popped into her head because there wasn't any fear in there. And the idea was find an Uber Facebook group on your computer and have one of them go deliver those meds. So she called the guy, and he said he was really close to the to the pharmacy, and he was really close to the woman. She got her medications in just a few minutes. The agent paid the Uber driver half when he picked him up, and then she paid him the other half when he delivered them. And the woman thought she was the miracle worker, and the woman's going to be moving into an assisted living home when coronavirus is over, and guess who she's going to use to list her house? So because that agent believed it was true that she should contact her people, she got some pretty great results from it.
Sure.
Now, truth number 3. When the alligators are surrounding you, the hardest thing in the world to do is to have a positive mindset. I'm thinking back to the late 80s when we lost all of our money in an oil bust. The price of oil went down to $8 a barrel, and the economy in Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Louisiana, Kansas, Missouri, it literally crashed. And we lost everything except our house, and we were $1.3 million in debt. Now, talk about fear. I really had it big time. And I knew for us to get on top of this situation that I was going to have to get rid of the fear. So I started saying my little verse, God has not given me a spirit of fear. He has given me a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And about the first 1,000 times I said it, I didn't really believe it. And on about that 1,500th time that I said it, I started believing it. And I was able to get rid of the fear because, you see, I was trying to say all the time, we're going to build back and build bigger than before. And, here the alligators were nipping. We were involved in some developments and couldn't pay the people the money for the development. It was just horrible. Just horrible. And here I'm trying to confess that we're going to build back and it'll be better than before. Finally, I started believing it after I said it enough times. It's kind of like if you act enthusiastic.
Can I ask? Did the people around you believe it?
I don't know whether they did or not. I think they thought I was pretty crazy because things were so terrible.
Yeah.
They thought, oh, she's just saying that. She's just trying to be positive. That's a great question.
Well,
But
the reason I
fine,
asked it, we usually have to
uh-huh.
fight against the limited thinking from the people around us too. So
That's exactly right. Only
yeah,
I had so much fear, I wasn't even thinking about them,
yeah,
you know. and and here's what happened. Losing everything in that recession set up a set of circumstances that allowed Gary Keller to accidentally find me. It was really a God thing, but I'll say for Gary Keller to find me or to accidentally find me. And then see, I had my mind screwed on straight, and when he contacted me, I saw the possible opportunity. Because in this coronavirus, it's just like me losing everything. You have an amazing opportunity in coronavirus. The question is your mind free enough of fear that you'll be able to recognize it? Because God always makes lemonade out of lemons every single time. And he'll take coronavirus and some of the greatest things are going to happen to you. Like a bunch of your people are going to want to sell because interest rates are so low. And a lot of people, older people who still have money, are going to want to buy a rental property because they have a little grandchild who wants to go to college someday, and they'll use it as a rental and then sell it and put the money in the college fund. So there are all sorts of opportunities that are come. The question is, are you free enough of fear to be able to recognize it? Now, truth number 4 is my favorite. Your mind is a part of you. Just like your foot is a part of you, your hand is a part of you, your finger is a part of you, your eyes are a part of you, and your mind is a part of the whole you, of you. And because it's just a part of you, here's the next line. It should be your servant and not your master. It should be your servant and not your master. And see, when those alligators are around you, maybe it's the alligator of, I can't do any business in coronavirus, or it's the alligator of, I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to get through this. Or maybe it's, I'm sick of my husband. I want him to go to the post office for 3 hours. Or maybe it's, I can't stand my kids anymore. You know, I'm having to teach them and I'm having to live with them all day, every day. Whatever that alligator is that's nipping at you, and, you know, and there's quite a few of them because a lot of us are starting to get stir crazy in this crazy coronavirus. Whatever it is so difficult to have an appropriate mindset in the middle of those alligators. Yeah. But you see, your mind is your servant. So while you're letting your thoughts say, oh my, you know, I want my hubby out of the house for 3 hours, you know, I'm sick of my kids, I'm tired of cooking, I'm sick and tired of teaching, and all this stuff, then you have to say, you know what, mind, I got to whip you into obedience. I'm going to get through coronavirus, and there's going to be a great opportunity for me. And then those bad thoughts come back again, and then you have to say, no, mind, you're out of control. And you have to treat your mind like it's a muscle. You know, if you want to, get strong in your legs, you have to exercise. Well, the same thing is true in your mind. If you want to have a positive mindset, you have to understand that if you change your mind, your circumstances will change. You have to think, what I believe to be true will make my adrenaline start flowing. And you have to think, when the alligators are nipping at me, the hardest thing in the world to do is to think positive. And then you have to think, well, you know what? I'm going to spank my mind, and I'm going to get it back into proper order where I just am focused on these positive thoughts. That's just what you have to do every day. The people in our company who aren't willing to do this will eventually drop out.
The whole industry.
The whole industry.
So
That's
what
right.
is the phrase? I know you, like me, you wake up really early in the morning. What's the phrase that you use now
Well,
to get you in that spot?
I always say creativity flourishes in the absence of fear.
Yep.
So then I do a check and I say, okay, do I have any of that fear left? You know, I was worried to death about money at first. I think I'm going to make it. You know I'm going to make it through. I'll have enough money to bolster my offices, my region, and and pay the bills, because I won't be getting an income probably for 2 years, because Gary and I have made the decision to rebuild our reserve fund pretty high, because we spent some of it, on tech,
Sure.
and now we're, using the rest of it, so we won't pay ourselves any owner disbursements. Now, Gary will get a salary because he's working hard every day, full time in the company. I get a little bitty one because, I'm going to be 83 2 days from Red Day, and I'm trying to smell a few roses. Except it's hard to smell those roses when you're locked in your house.
Well, I was looking at a picture of us today, and I thought, my goodness, at 83, here I stand next to this woman, and she looks younger than I do. I don't know what that's.
Oh, no, I don't.
Your skin is flawless.
Yeah, I look pretty bad on Zoom, so it may be good that you didn't get me through on the Zoom thing.
I think
the
hair's
a mess. Oh, you know how it goes. So anyway, that's what I do with the fear.
Okay.
Now, I think one of your biggest opportunities in this coronavirus is working your sphere of influence. And I'm seeing agents do things with their sphere of influence that just blow me away. It's so amazing. One guy's selling all sorts of investment properties because after you love on your people, then he'll say, can you give me the name of grandmothers and grandfathers who might still have money through this coronavirus thing and who want to buy a rental property and then maybe sell it and put it in the grandkids' college fund? And they're getting all sorts of leads off of that question. Another one they're using is that sheet you all got, or I hope you got it, from International, that is the checklist for refinancing your home, because some people don't want to move. They just want to take advantage of the low interest rates. And the question on the sphere of influence calls are, do you know of anyone that maybe they're getting short on cash in this coronavirus situation, and they might want to refinance their home to take advantage of the lower rates and to free up some cash? And it's been interesting because most people will say, well, yeah, my nephew is, because his wife lost her job, and now they're just down to one income. And I know another a person said, well, yeah, there's a couple down the street that mentioned the other day when we were talking on the phone that they wish they could refinance their house. And then the agent said, would you be willing to call those two people and get their permission for me to call them? And I'll go over the checklist with them. I can do a Zoom call and go over the checklist. There's so much of that going on.
Well,
I know one
really
agent.
People need us to serve them right now more than they have in the past.
And you know, here in Oklahoma, now we got our governor, you know, to say that we were an essential business, so that really helped. But we had the best March we've had in the history of the Oklahoma region.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing to me because I discovered that the agents were meeting their clients at the property, making their clients wear a mask and gloves.
Yep.
And they had brought the booties for their clients to have on their shoes so that when they walked in the house, and they wouldn't let them in the house unless they'd been approved for a loan. And the agent didn't even go in the house.
Yep.
Most of the time. And the agent had supplied cleaning stuff for the people to wipe it all down, you know, when the people left.
I got to say.
And then there are other, what'd you say?
It's amazing how the creativity has come up, and our agents have figured out in California also how to do that successfully.
And how to do it without even going to the house.
That's the best part.
It's just amazing to me that March was the best we've had in the history of the company. And it's going to be interesting to see what your March is, because I think your restrictions are tougher than ours.
Well,
were you considered?
Yeah, we know.
Are you an essential business?
We are, and yet we have stronger controls on us than you do in Oklahoma. March was good. April is about 50% off market wide, and May will probably be about 50% also. Can I go a slightly different direction, Mo? Slightly.
You bet.
So last year I had some pretty dark days and times, all business related, and then of course with my grandma getting sick. And I had reached out to you quite a bit and talked about what it felt like to be isolated and alone in going through a lot of those trials. And now we are actually physically isolated, a lot of us. And do you remember what you shared with me as far as how to get through those times of feeling so isolated?
No, I don't even remember what I said. What did I say?
You told me to read some of the Psalms.
Yeah.
And find some strength there. Do you have any particular Psalms that you cling on to?
103. I love that one, because at the very beginning of the Psalm it says, forget not my benefits. And then it lists 6 benefits. And I'm not going to tell you what they all are, but they are awesome. And one has to do with the forgiveness of sins, past, present, and future. And the second one has to do with I will heal your diseases. You know, that's like coronavirus. You know, we'll reach a point where that will be healed, either through vaccines or a pill you take or something. Anyway, there's one more about, well, I'll tell you. It's at the very end. because the fifth one is, I give you good gifts, which are the desires of your heart. And that's happened to me. I just can't tell you how all these things that happen in Keller Williams are just like little gifts to me, because, you know, I had a part in the early days of the company, and so everything is just like just this beautiful gift. And then it says,
you had
the
more than a
last
part.
one,
You had
and the
way more
last
than a
one,
part. I don't think we'd be here if it weren't for you. So thank you.
well, you probably wouldn't be. That's the truth. Gary's pretty lucky he found me. Anyway, at the very end it says, and I will, something to the effect, make you youthful as the wings of an eagle. And see, here I am, almost 83, and I'm trying to role model to you all that you don't have to quit when you're 65. I mean, the best part of my life have been my 70s and now into my 80s. So I just love to read that Psalms. I read it almost every day, and I just read that one part. Forget not my benefits. I just love it.
All right. And then my last question for you, in times like this, when fear and uncertainty and worry are taking over the whole planet, and this really is unprecedented, I think, on this level, I believe this is when character is revealed and when character is built. And I would love to know.
That's exactly right.
You don't develop. How we build our characters.
Well, you don't develop it when you're on the mountaintop. You develop it in the valley and on the way up to the mountaintop.
Yeah.
The mountaintop's a really fun place to be, but you don't build any character there. That's for sure.
Okay. So what would you specifically recommend that we do? Because we talked.
Well, I recommend that you call your sphere of influence, and I recommend that you get on a Zoom call and allow yourselves to share and get creative on how that call could go, because I'm sure you've already started calling or you've called and you need fresh and new ideas about what the script would be. And the second thing that I encourage you to do is to get a mindset that you are a pioneer, because it used to be just those of us who built the company in the early days were the pioneers, but that isn't true anymore. Yes, we did ford rivers, and yes, we did cross streams, and yes, we did walk through dark forests, and yes, people shot arrows in our backs, but you know what? We just pulled those suckers out and bled a little bit and went on. But now we have experienced something that's never been experienced before on the face of the earth, and you are all pioneers. And when you're a pioneer and you're facing a different kind of a forest with trees in it we've never seen before, and there's brush underground that you have to cut through in order to walk through that forest. And I'm just using this to give you a mental picture of what a pioneer does. And yes, they're all alligators nipping at us and arrows in our backs. But what you do is you pull them out and you just keep marching forward. A pioneer never, 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 never quits. And we're really getting ready to see how many pioneers we have in our company, because the people that don't have this pioneering spirit to learn the new tech, to see opportunity and adversity, who don't enroll in the new Bold. I'm so excited about Bold. I don't know what to do because the price is way down low now. I hope there's at least 50 in your market center that is taking it, because I think it's going to be a real bolster to you when we kind of get through this period where you really are on fire. And I just want you to have that pioneer spirit, because a pioneer's got fire in their belly to keep on going, but they also know they have to create new ways to move forward.
Yeah.
So you're pioneers now, whether you want to be or not.
We are thrust into it. Now we get to choose what we do.
And now, and especially creativity flowing when your head isn't full of fear, you will think of things that you surprise you. You'll go look in the mirror and think, "Good grief, I can't believe I thought of that."
Yeah.
But you see, it's because your mind is free of fear, and God can put these creative thoughts in your head that you never would have had if your mind wasn't free of fear.
Absolutely.
And I want a company full of pioneers who are marching forward, chopping down those crazy-looking trees in the forest.
All right, so then we obviously can't see you. However, anybody who can hear you right now can feel the energy in you. Going on 83, how in the world do you keep those energy reserves so high?
I think it's because I know how to rise above adversity, and I just get real excited. Like when I heard that John Prescott was changing Bold so that it could be digital, it could be on Zoom or whatever they're doing. See, that was like a gift, and I thought, oh my goodness, what an opportunity, because now we've got all of these friends in other real estate offices who don't have anything, nobody's loving on them, nobody's offering them a Zoom course that will help them. And see, I thought, my goodness, we'll have more recruits on this Zoom than we ever would have had if it were classroom style. We'll still have them classroom style. I mean, that'll happen once we get through coronavirus. But just think what an opportunity this is. And see, when you get your mindset straight, then you see opportunity in almost everything that happens. I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to find out when they're going to do the first one, because, I'm still recruiting. Like, I recruited a mother-daughter team from Berkshire Hathaway just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And do you know, they are so excited about all the stuff we have in Keller Williams, especially the technology, that they're sending me presents, thanking me for recruiting them away from Berkshire Hathaway.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And all these great things happen to you, but it's all mindset.
Yes, it is.
There are days, even still, when I wake up and it's kind of a chore to get out of bed, and I think, hey, my mindset's terrible. So I start saying creativity flows in the absence of fear. And the first time I say it, I don't even believe it. But if I just keep saying it, I start believing it.
If you act enthusiastic, you will be enthusiastic.
You know, I learned that way back in my school teaching days, because I cried all the way to school because my husband had depression, and I just didn't know how I was going to deal with that. And I cried all the way to school. When I got a block away from school, I had to walk to school because we only had one car, and he drove it to work. He was able to work even though he was really, really depressed. And so a block away from the school building, I would take a Kleenex and dry my eyes, and the minute I touched the handle of the door, I pulled that door open and I acted enthusiastic. I was about as enthusiastic as a dead slug. And I want you to know I acted enthusiastic. I was hurting on the inside. Nobody in the world knew how badly I was hurting on the inside because I was so worried about Richard. He got better and he hadn't had depression like that in years. But anyway, it was really bad. And one day I was in my classroom and I had been acting enthusiastic, and I happened to look up at the clock, and the clock said it was 10:30 or 11 or something. And I had this huge aha because I was actually enthusiastic by then. I really was. I felt it. I felt my adrenaline flowing. I felt my energy. I had that power, that confidence with my kids. And I realized that if you act enthusiastic, you'll eventually be enthusiastic.
Well, it's so interesting.
Well, the same thing.
Yeah, because
the same thing is true with mindset.
Absolutely. And your physicality can change your mindset. So that's what you were doing. You were changing what your body was doing, and it changed everything else.
Yeah. Because when you change your mind, you change your outer the aspects. And when you believe something to really be true, it actually creates adrenaline in your body.
Absolutely. So 2 things. Number one, I'm excited because we're going to pretty much continue that same kind of conversation tomorrow with Diana. And my last question for you is, what can we all do for you?
I want you to pray for my health because I do have a problem with a heart valve, and I believe it's possible for it to get better instead of worse. And I just want you to always pray for my health because I'm reaching an age where things happen. But I'm still cooking and I'm still going and I'm still blowing. And I just want to do this. I want to be like this, blowing and going. I may not look as good, but who cares? I want to be going and blowing into my 90s, and I just want you to just pray for me every day that I'll be sustained with good health, and I'll do the things that will help me have good health. Like, I do 30 minutes on my stationary bike, and I have a guy who comes and stretches me and makes me work with weights, and that I'll keep that stamina up so that as I age, I'll soar like an eagle, like it says in his benefits.
Awesome. Well, we need you around for a lot longer, so lots of prayers coming your way.
That's what you can do for me.
All right.
Listen, I love you guys. I'm going to give you a hug, and I'm going to go get on my next call, I hope.
Right. Love you, Mo. Thank you.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.